Let's break this bitch down. Act 1. Let's set some stuff up.
Our story begins with some grainy stock footage of the war in Iraq narrated by Powers Booth at some sort of ceremony to discharge a platoon of Army Rangers, I guess. He goes on.
Do Army Rangers go in platoons that all get discharged at the same time? I don't think that's a thing, right?
No,
because there was like 5 or 6 of them. Maybe it's just a group of people getting discharged.
The scriptwriter was only able to brush up on U.S. Marshals. He didn't pay attention to the military.
I'm pretty sure you fill out some paperwork. And then
also, as we mentioned, there was sort of a late addition that he was made into an Army Ranger. So maybe they whatever. Just give him a discharge ceremony.
Get some stock footage.
We don't need to research it. Nic Cage wants to be an Army Ranger. He goes on about never leaving a fallen comrade behind because otherwise we wouldn't know Poe's motivation for not leaving people to die later in the film. And we see him head home to Mobile, Alabama via a rusted out, barely seaworthy looking fishing boat. Gotta go catch a leprechaun. That's all I think of from Mobile, Alabama.
It's the only noteworthy tourist attraction in Mobile, Alabama. The tree with the leprechaun in it.
He heads to a diner where his wife works as a waitress and apparently as rape fodder for the local fishermen / grunge music video extras.
Jesus.
Nick's character Cameron Poe says hello to his baby the same way Roy Waller does in Matchstick Men by putting his head up to his wife's stomach and can't wait for his unborn baby to become Miss Alabama, which is kind of creepy.
It's really creepy.
Was children's pageants a thing back then? Yeah, I guess they were.
Yeah.
John Bonet. Also, his wife, who's not even the slightest bit pregnant looking.
Yeah. It's early on.
Yeah. Sure.
So early, he knows that it's a girl. Yeah. Which is, you wouldn't yet when it's that early. Yeah, whatever.
Don't try and bring logic into this.
Just like my wife's a month pregnant and you can already see a baby bump too. So it's no way that woman was pregnant enough to have a baby. A baby with a distinguishable sex. He and his wife Trisha make out for a bit before the Pearl Jam extras break up the fun. A regular hound dog asks if the soldier dick can buy he and his filthy friends a drink, since clearly they need more MGDs to kick this night into overdrive. But Cameron rudely refuses after the guy throws money directly at his face.
Why don't you go buy me and my buddies around?
They were drinking MTDs. I don't know if you noticed that. That was my drink of choice in the early 2000s.
Wasn't Natty Ice?
I wasn't going to say. No,
Keystone Ice?
For some reason, it was Miller Genuine Draft was like my go-to.
I think I drank those when I first turned 21 and then never again. Once I found there's actual good beer you can buy. Trisha diffuses the situation, but the guy makes a great point by saying chicken shits who'd rather not fight back after homeless looking fishermen throw money in their face are precisely why we lost in Vietnam. She says, for a second there, you were that guy again, when Cameron slightly reacts to a guy ogling his wife and tossing a balled up $10 bill in his face. And she was hoping the army would have made that guy grow up. Isn't he like 30 something? Surely a man with that many medals has been in the army for a long time. Has she not seen him since he went in? Is this the same thing as Cameron not seeing his daughter for her entire life because he didn't want her to see him while he was in prison?
Yeah, I don't want you seeing me while I'm in the army because I'm fighting for our country.
Yeah,
in one conflict.
His hair was really long, and he didn't want to see. He didn't want her to see him with short hair, so that's why he grew it out again.
I was gonna get a haircut.
They dance to "How Do I Live Without You," since every action movie needed a romantic Oscar bait song in the 90s for some reason. They head out into the rain where, wouldn't you know it, those fishermen aren't over Cameron not buying them booze or letting them rape his wife. Trisha begs him to just drive away, but Cameron decides to defend her honor and in the process, Bruce Lee style, jams a guy's nose into his brain, killing him instantly. That's an urban myth, by the way. Your nose is made of cartilage and definitely wouldn't go through your skull. But I liked how he said, Trisha! Trisha! in slow-mo over the guy's body, though. To be super dramatic. How else would you know it's dramatic that he killed a guy?
It reminded me of in Face Off when what's Pollux Troy is like Cass in like slow mo, like the weird inflection of the voice. It's like Trisha.
I think it's probably because they slowed down the audio.
I guess, yeah.
Or they had it. They slowed the footage down, and then you had to ADR the audio to match.
Yeah.
To match his slower speaking, because it would sound really weird if they slowed it down. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. It sounded not like Nic Cage.
It is all like those. They did that in Face Off a bit, where they just sort of randomly slow down shots that it would look awful.
Yeah.
The two directors visited each other on sets.
Yeah.
It's really cool when you do this. When you do this slow down effect, it's great. Cameron's lawyer convinces him to plead guilty against his wishes since he'll get less time. But then, in a campy monologue, the judge says that because of his military training, Cameron is a deadly weapon and isn't subject to the same laws as the rest of us. So he gives him 7 to 10 years in prison, which seems a bit harsh for self-defense / manslaughter. Like,
yeah.
That's my favorite shitty plot point in movies to be a military.
You're a deadly weapon, so every time you assault somebody, it's assault with a deadly weapon.
Yeah. So we don't abide by those laws here with you, those city laws. You don't have the same rights. What the fuck? I thought I was a U.S. citizen who is no longer in the military. I thought all laws
doesn't matter.
Like the same laws apply to me, regardless of training.
It's like he's carrying a weapon at all times. You see,
right? He is the weapon.
Jesus Christ, he's Jason Bourne.
We see a montage of Cameron working out in prison and growing out his gorgeous, flowing, princely locks while receiving letters from his wife and daughters showing the passage of time. His wife sends him some pink snowballs, which made him pretty popular in prison, especially with a guy named Baby-O, who wouldn't stop going on and on about all the ways you can prepare shrimp. Better than sharing a cell with a guy who eats sand, I guess.
I think that dude only knows how to play one character, and it's Bubba.
pretty much.
Because even in 24, he was in 24, like one of the last Kiefer Sutherland seasons of 24. And it was like Bubba in a suit. That's all I could fucking hear. He's just got one character he plays.
Are there non-Kiefer Sutherland seasons of 24?
Yeah, there's one.
Oof.
It was not great.
Why did they do that?
And Fox agreed, so they shit-canned it.
Because he kind of went a little off the rails.
Yeah, after he beat up that defenseless Christmas tree, they kind of distanced themselves from him.
He went off on a bender. And, they fired him and then tried to replace him, and then it didn't work out.
Yeah. Although he's back. If you guys haven't seen The Contractor with Chris Pine and him, I highly recommend it. Fucking phenomenal film.
How long is he gonna be back on this trajectory before he gets drunk and beats someone up again?
One film, and it wasn't a person; it was a Christmas tree. So he's probably out there tackling it right now.
Wait, so that just happened?
Oh, that happened.
You didn't hear about that?
Yeah,
there's video of it.
There's video. It's amazing.
He
I'm envious.
Dives into a Christmas tree. I think I made a joke about it on one of the other episodes.
Really?
I feel like he did.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Lord War.
Yeah, it was when Vitaly falls on all the Christmas presents.
On the tree. Yeah.
On Lord of War.
Yeah, in Lord of War.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look that up.
That was crazy. That was like 2008, something like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like.
I thought you said it was like just happened. I mean,
no, he was saying it might have just happened because it's Christmas time, so maybe he's out there fighting trees.
Yeah, I'm saying he's probably out there doing the Lord's work, fighting Christmas trees.
It's a tradition now.
Every year.
Every year.
That's when we kick off the holiday season.
It's not Christmas to Kiefer tackles a Christmas tree.
Go a Sutherlanding. A Sutherlanding.
It's a Kiefer Christmas.
Coming to Disney Plus.
Kick-ass Kiefer Christmas.
We see a horrifying prison riot, which Cameron drowns out by putting a hand over his ear, just like he does when Baby-O comes by for his pink snowballs, if you know what I mean. Cameron learns all sorts of handy things in prison, like how to speak Spanish, do origami, and work his sweet glistening abs till they shine like gold in this dark, dark prison. It seems like he's having a pretty good time in there. Really.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That sounds really peaceful. I'm envious.
Yeah.
Writing
Eventually-
letters back and forth every day.
I love that shot, like the riot and him just like hanging out in his cell,
Just
like
puts
nope,
his
I'm
hand
good.
over his ear. What?
Eventually, Cameron sends word to his wife, that he's getting paroled on his daughter's birthday, July 14th, which is also my daughter's birthday.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, Bastille Day. Wonder if they'll celebrate with fireworks and champagne. Bet you didn't think the guy who wrote Con Air would know what that Bastille was a prison in Paris, did you?
I thought it was a band.
It's a Rush song.
Oh, that too.
It's a deep cut, you know?
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect that from the guy who wrote Con Air and Gone in 60 Seconds.
He probably looked it up or learned about it as he was writing about prisons or something. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you guys know about this Bastille? Did you hear about that?
The guy who directed Never Gonna Give You Up is just, go read the paper, find our next movie.
That guy's got some hits under his belt.
It was the Bastille Day paper, so it was July 14th paper, and he's like, hey, did you hear about this thing going on in France? What is that? It's also revealed that in a letter that Cameron has never seen his daughter since he didn't want her to see him in prison. Better not see your only daughter at all then. It makes sense. Miss out on her entire childhood. Cameron boxes up all his stuff, including a stuffed bunny he traded some cigarettes he boofed into prison for, I guess. Bubba O reads Cameron's parole letter while Cam looks deep into his eyes for some reason. Then, out of nowhere, Cameron laughs and put his hand on Baby O's shoulder in a very cagey manner at the thought of being released. That is all sorts of weird, out of place, and jarring while saying,
I'm going home, son!
That is the weirdest delivery out of any line that he does in this entire thing. He just like suddenly is like holding it on. He has this like his hand on his shoulder, staring deep into his eyes, like starts laughing into the sky. And like, I'm going home, son.
After watching
So
the best
weird.
times, I am 100% convinced that's improv.
Baby O says, don't be getting all juicy on me, all right? While they hug, since I'm guessing he was still thinking about those pink snowballs. He sees the reason why Baby O made him grow his hair out.
I meant to get a haircut, but he wouldn't let me.
Says
Wanted them as
with
handlebars.
it helps with the fantasy. They
They
head
made
out
me
together.
put them in pigtails.
They head out together with their stuff in boxes since Baby O is being transferred to a new prison, and he sticks a little smiley face his friend Forrest invented into Cameron's box, so we know, or onto Cameron's box, so we know which one is his later on in the film. No other reason why. We cut to a guy explaining why U.S. Marshals fly prisoners around to a group of guards who should probably already know this information. He says they're transporting a bunch of horrible criminals into a new supermax prison called Erewhon outside Los Angeles on an oil rig or something. On a prison bus, Baby O sets up some exposition about needing an insulin shot before hopping onto the jailbird prisoner transport, and a female guard says he'll get it once they're on board. Cameron endears himself to the guard by going on and on about how he's going home to see his daughter like a lonely guy trying to tell you about his family at a Starbucks or something. She tells him his daughter is a walking, talking reason to rehabilitate. Then we cut to some idiot wearing sandals with a suit. Oh, wait, that's John Cusack's character Larkin, who I think is supposed to be cool because he just makes fun of his boss to make an unnamed fellow officer who shows up like 3 times smile a little bit.
That officer is kind of strange. Like, it almost feels like it was supposed to be like a main character, but then she
got cut
never
in
really
editing.
gets any lines, and
Yeah.
she's just a background extra for most of the movie.
They already had one female character. They didn't need to waste screen time on another, I guess. Larkin and his boss head out to meet up with Chief O'Brien, who beams in driving a 60s Corvette with a license plate that reads as Kicker. He's a douchebag from the jump because every one of these films needs an arrogant, incompetent superior that can be proven wrong later in the film for some reason. While Larkin is being introduced to Malloy, he suddenly peels out in his Corvette and backs into a handicap spot on the tarmac. A prison bus shows up with a police escort and 2 helicopters flying 3 feet above it. You sure it's not a Michael Bay movie? Same writer as Gone in 60 Seconds, by the way. If that movie taught us anything, it's that helicopters need to be extremely close to vehicles to keep track of them. like right on top of them. Otherwise you lose them.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it was just to make a cool shot, but it's just like, why are they so close to the fucking buses?
They don't need to be that close unless they're filming, unless it's being directed by John Landis. I got film tragedy jokes for days.
God damn it. I was hoping we would avoid those jokes.
We just talked about this in the quick facts, right?
Somebody else. That was a different person dying filming in a helicopter. Malloy and Larkin meet up with an undercover DEA agent they plan to plant on this plane to score intelligence on some drug lord named Cindino they're picking up in Carson City. He's supposed to make friends with the guy and get Cindino to spill his guts about the family business on the way to Alabama. So what nobody could do the whole time he was in prison, this agent is going to do over the course of a 5-hour flight with a guy he's never met before. Like, yeah, sure.
Gonna become good buds. I mean...
Yeah. Like the guy's not gonna be able to smell that coming from a mile off. Like this guy he's never met, trying to get him to spill the goods on stuff.
Yeah, why the fuck would he talk anyways?
Because they're both Hispanic, okay?
Allegedly.
That's the only thinking I can get out of that. It's like, let's put this Hispanic guy next to this Hispanic guy. They'll have a lot in common.
The first time I saw this movie, I thought it was gonna turn out that undercover guy was helping the Mexican dude break out. And then I was sorely disappointed when that was not the case, and it was just a stupid plot point that it went nowhere.
It just ends almost immediately.
Just an idiot.
Yeah, immediately. And then, anyways.
They never even speak to each other. Like, they didn't take that into account of when they planted the DEA agent onto the plane, was that they might sit them apart from each other.
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah. Because none of the guards know that he's a DEA agent.
Right.
He's off the books.
Yeah, they're just hoping that he would happen to be sitting next to him.
Yeah.
After they're all chained into their seats, like they can get up and talk.
Yeah,
but they can't talk to each other anyway, right?
Yeah.
It was like they would just like gag him and stick. Yeah.
This is a black bag operation.
So stupid.
It's like Face Off.
Larkin freaks out when he finds out the undercover agent has a gun on him, since the plane is run like a prison and they only have a gun in the lockbox inside the cockpit out of extreme caution. And this was before 9/11. Oh, and an arsenal in the cargo hold, but so that's pointless. Like that whole conflict. Eventually, Malloy relents and has Willie, the undercover DEA agent, remove it, but he plants one on him anyway a few scenes later. It's important. Larkin
But not really. Because they already had a gun.
We just gotta drag out this first opening act as much as possible. Larkin then introduces the all-star starting lineup of the prison transport. At center, we have a mass murderer named Billy Bedford. At power forward, we have Ving Diamond Dog Rhames, who is a former general of the Black Guerrillas, which sounds like a racist way of saying Black Panthers, but whatever. At point guard, Cyrus the Virus Malkovich, who is apparently a genius who thinks he's killed more men than cancer, so he's actually pretty stupid. At shooting guard, Walking Penis Pinball, who is basically just Dave Chappelle playing Dave Chappelle. And at small forward, the man with the best hair on Cell Block C, Cameron Hair Jordan Poe. Hair Jordan. Malloy asks Larkin who Cameron is when he sees a 6'2" beefcake with flowing hair smiling up at the clouds on the monitor, and Larkin says he's just hitching a ride home and he's a nobody. A guard takes a picture of Poe's daughter from his pocket, and Cam tells him he'll be getting that picture back at some point. The guard tells him, "Are you telling me what I'm going to be doing, numbnuts?" And Cage very coyly says,
You heard me.
like he just told him about a boy in study hall he likes.
You heard me.
You heard me. Quick fact, the Jailbird airplane used during flight scenes had a series of owners, both military and private. In December 2003, it was sold to All West Freight Inc. in Delta Junction, Alaska. On August 1st, 2010, it crashed into Mount Healy in Denali National Park, killing all 3 flight crew. Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of plane accidents on this.
They get everyone on the plane, including the undercover agent, and everyone seems to get along great. Pinball makes friends with Poe and a Native American guy. Poe admires Billy Bedford's Cage, and the lead guard admires how many episodes of Current Affair, Hard Copy, and Geraldo have been made about the inmates on board. He tells them not to scream, spit, or bite, and a guy spits on him immediately, prompting the guards to bag him, which is basically duct taping his mouth and putting a bag over the dude's head. I mean, how else are we going to explain why the hostages have their mouths duct taped and faces covered later without this scene? It's smart thinking. Cyrus the Virus Grissom chats with Danny Trejo, a.k.a. Johnny 23, who got the name from raping 23 women, and he has a tattoo to commemorate all of them. Aw, what a sentimental guy. Cyrus says he despises rapists and says he's somewhere between a cockroach and that white stuff that accumulates at the corners of your mouth when you're thirsty. But in Johnny 23's case, he'll make an exception. I'm guessing with a snarky attitude like that, Cyrus learned all about white stuff in his mouth during his time in prison. Cyrus and Diamond Dog each have a nail or something they embedded into the palms of their hands and undo their handcuffs in seconds flat because if movies have taught us anything, it's just that easy. Pinball pulls a condom full of lighter fluid and a match up from his stomach, looks over at the Indian guy sitting next to him and says, "Hey, Chief, you come through this all right? I hope you don't hold a grudge," and then sprays him with lighter fluid and sets him on fire. In the chaos, Pinball steals the female guard named Bishop's keys and unlocks Diamond Dog and Cyrus's cages. Diamond Dog screams Allah Akbar and kills a guard with his cuffs, smashing Baby O's insulin in the process, prompting Bubba to yell, "Hey, man, get off my insulin!" rather than be terrified of the midair prison riot happening all around them. I mean, they're kind of used to it now.
I feel like there's an extra level of danger when you're in the middle of a flight, you know?
Yeah. The guards manage to subdue Diamond Dog with tasers, but the co-pilot pulls the only gun on the plane, for all they know, out of the lockbox, which goes great because Cyrus takes it from him immediately and kills 2 inmates and the co-pilot. He tells the pilot to fly, bitch, and to report there was a disturbance to ground control, but to say everything now is under control. While the pilot is making the announcement, 2 feet away, Cyrus screams and fires the gun inside the pressurized plane and says, "Welcome to Con Air." Hey, that's the name of the movie. All the inmates cheer loudly, and the crew on the ground hear all of this through the pilot's open channel. Oh, wait, they don't hear anything, and they're completely oblivious to the hijack. Cyrus lets out Billy, the guy who killed his wife's entire family because he caught her cheating, but he turns out to be a pretty chill guy, all things considered. Johnny 23 immediately gets to work trying to rape Deputy Bishop because he saw that Jim Carrey movie, The Number 23, and knows unlucky.
Wow. I'm impressed you managed to make that joke.
Remember that forgotten Jim Carrey movie?
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Poe intervenes, though, and throws Johnny, almost 24, to the ground and beats him up a bit before Cyrus shows up and tells Johnny to keep it in his pants or he'll sing him, "Johnny, are you queer?" in the bathroom. We didn't write it. The band from Valley Girl wrote that song. Cyrus finds out how many of the inmates are being transferred in Carson City, but there's a snag when they realize that 3 of the 6 are dead, so they use the bag 'em trick on some volunteer inmates and guards to take their places. Diamond Dog gives a speech about how if they all follow he and Cyrus and Pinball's plan, the rest of their lives will be a vacation in a non-extradition country with sandy beaches, umbrella drinks, and dirty naked freaks. So, like, Key West. Pinball unlocks all the inmates, but as soon as he unlocks the undercover DEA agent, he pulls his gun, and I guess all his training didn't help him much because he's killed in seconds flat, even though Poe tried to intervene and calm him down since he almost got way more people killed. Cyrus takes this as Poe being an ally, so he begins to trust him.
Makes sense.
What was this guy's plan, dude?
Yeah, just
He
take
didn't
on
have
the
a
entire plane full of people. Yeah.
Yeah. What an idiot.
It's a wonder that none of the U.S. Marshals wanted to be involved in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
I'm sure
make
the
all
DEA was
enforcement
embarrassed.
seems stupid as hell. Yeah.
That guy could have totally passenger 57 to that whole situation, but no. He just stood up and took a guy hostage immediately.
Cyrus says Baby O can't get off the plane since the guards on the ground are expecting white guys. So rather than leave when he has a chance, Poe stays on the plane to protect his buddy and the guard so she isn't raped. And he and Bubba can make sure that they'll be able to get that shrimp boat they've been talking about buying for all these years.
God damn it.
I'm sorry. It's like my only point of reference for that guy is Bubba. There's a lot of Forrest Gump jokes in here.
We cut back and forth from the plane to the prison Cyrus was in, and for some reason Larkin is now there too. Wasn't he just in an air traffic control tower center somewhere?
Yeah. What?
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're investigating Cyrus's cell for some reason. Inside Cyrus's cell, the guards find a false wall with the whole hijacking plan mapped out in a cryptic code which reveals they're meeting more inmates in Carson City. Larkin tells the guards not to touch anything, but one of them grabs a box marked "Do Not Open" immediately, and the box blows up, which causes the cell door to comically nearly decapitate Larkin. Before landing, Poe gets his daughter's photo back from the guard who took it, but also stashes a reel-to-reel tape recorder on him that was previously on the DEA agent to alert the authorities of what's happening on board. Didn't have like mini cassettes or even regular cassette tapes or anything in 1997. Why did they have to do this? Big real, yeah.
It just had to look cool when it breaks later.
Like it's supposed
I
to
guess.
be like a hidden wire, but it's the biggest fucking recording. You might as well like just strap a VHS camcorder onto his shoulder or something and try to get that in there.
It's just ridiculous. Maybe it's because it had to record for a really long time. That was the idea. Because like those mini cassettes, you could only record like 90 minutes on them or something. But
True.
On the ground, there's a sandstorm, which helps the ruse since the inmates have an excuse for covering their faces. But Cyrus uncovers his face anyway, but no one seems to recognize the guy so famous he was on a hard copy or some shit.
They were distracted by those sick beats.
One of the
Sandstorm,
only
anybody?
like... Wait, what?
Sandstorm.
I knew you were going to make a joke about that. As soon as I wrote the word sandstorm, I was like, Vince is going to make a sandstorm joke.
One of only like 20 prisoners on the plane who the guards would probably have been briefed about like 10 minutes earlier. Considering they had a big intro for him when they were listing off all the prisoners.
Yeah.
And he had the biggest rap sheet. The prisoner exchange goes off without a hitch, and they add a pilot named Swamp Thing, Sandino's son, who happens to be paying for this whole operation and will put up all of these credits to society once they land in whatever extradition-free country they're heading to, and a Hannibal Lecter-esque serial killer / child molester named Garland Green, played by Steve Buscemi. Why not? He's vitally important to this movie. They need to have him in the film.
Just why? Why is his character even in it, dude?
Pederast, dude.
Why does he make the fucking...
Garland?
You make the fucking Darth Vader noise the whole time he's like coming into the plane too.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because he's spooky.
Because they watch Silence of the Lambs. They wrote that. Swamp Thing removes the plane's transponder and Pinball stashes it on a tourist plane nearby that somehow ends up in Monument Valley a few scenes later, despite taking off from Carson City, which is like 800 miles away, but whatever. Pinball gets caught up chatting with a girl in the hangar and ends up not making it back on the plane. Well, I guess he kind of makes it. But anyway, it's the last we see of Dave Chappelle. Alive, anyway. On the bus with the real prison guards, the guard Poe put the tape recorder on, makes a ruckus, which prompts a guard to break a few of his ribs. Good to see there's some realism in this movie. And the tape recorder rolls out while playing somehow, even though it's shattered. This alerts them that something is wrong, and the next thing you know, the cavalry is on its way.
Act 2. Let's get some motivation up in this thing.
The guards exchanging prisoners are alerted their counterparts in the plane are actually convicts. So the head guard tries to stall Cyrus, but I guess the cops don't believe in subtlety because they come screaming in like mad. Which, wouldn't you know it, gets the guard killed. Womp womp. The jailbird takes off seconds later, no sweat. No one blocking the runway, no attempt to shoot at the plane, just a mildly annoyed air traffic controller telling them they're not cleared for takeoff. So, just, face off. They stopped that plane.
They did stop that plane, man.
Helicopter pushed down on it, right?
Yeah. Captain Swamp Thing explains to, God, what's his name? Cindino?
Cindino.
Cindino?
Cindino.
Huh?
Cindino.
Cindino?
Sin.
I've never. Sin?
Cindino. That's how they pronounce it in the movie. I don't know if that's actually how it's supposed to be pronounced.
That's not how you would pronounce that, but okay.
But yeah.
Captain Swamp Thing explains to Cindino that they've placed a transponder in a tourist plane that I guess gets cleared for takeoff despite the horrible sandstorm. Same ground crew that let Kobe's helicopter take off, I guess. R.I.P. Kobe.
Oh my God.
Might be too soon, but
so many plane crash jokes in this.
Yeah.
Helicopter aircraft crash disasters.
We haven't even gotten to the Leonard Skinner scene later in.
Yeah. Larkin and Malloy reunite, and Malloy finds out the cons have control of the plane. He also finds out that his all-star agent was killed since he idiotically revealed himself midair with zero plan whatsoever. Malloy blames Larkin and his team for getting his guy killed, while Larkin blames Malloy, yada yada yada. Ultimately, they come up with a plan to take off after the plane with attack helicopters, but of course, they take off after the wrong plane. Back on the jailbird, Cyrus decides it's inhumane to leave the child-murdering psychopath locked up like Hannibal Lecter and decides to let him out. Meanwhile, Poe tries to find out the plan while Larkin radios the plane from the ground. Cyrus somehow knows who Malloy is, and the guy he shot is his agent, so after taunting him, Malloy screams at Cyrus, prompting Cyrus to say,
"Hey, I don't like him. If he speaks again, this conversation is terminated."
Overall, he's a pretty even-keeled homicidal maniac, if you ask me.
How would he know? Like, first of all, how would he know who Malloy is? Second of all, how would he know that that guy was a DA agent? Third, how does he know that that guy was working for Malloy?
He's a genius.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
all
he
right.
pieced it all together, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes,
He's killed more people than cancer, dude. He's a genius.
Larkin tells him one of the guards in Carson City faked a heart attack, so that's how they're onto them, rather than give away that Poe planted a tape recorder on him like Malloy tried to. Then Cyrus sings him a nice little song before telling Poe they're headed to a spot, this is important, 49 minutes from anything resembling authority called Lerner, how they say it in there, Lerner Airfield, which is a very oddly specific spot and reference to make. Now we get to like one of the dumbest plot points ever too. Poe's wife and daughter get the news that something has happened on the plane and they're escorted to Carson City while Diamond Dog says, "Yeehaw, what's on your mind, hillbilly?" And Poe says,
"What was I thinking about? Oh yeah, yeehaw, that's right."
Then Poe tries to set up division between Diamond Dog and Cyrus by asking what a black militant is doing, taking orders from a white boy on a power trip. Diamond Dog basically says he'll kill Cyrus and probably everybody else on the plane as soon as they get to where they're going, but, whatever. Just forget that fucking gets brought up.
Yeah.
It literally goes nowhere. Poe tells Baby-O,
They somehow managed to get every creep and freak in the universe onto this one plane. And then somehow managed to let them take it over. And then somehow managed to stick us right smack in the middle.
just fucking amazing writing. Thanks for giving us a synopsis of this fucking movie.
And then somehow Palpatine returned.
Somehow he electrocutes. Nothing like 90s films, action films. Which, like I said, thanks for giving us a synopsis in the middle of it, because it really felt like a trailer moment. Nothing like explaining the plot of the movie in the middle of the fucking movie.
Just in case you dozed off or you got distracted.
Or you went to go take a piss.
What was happening? Plot. Palpatine's back. Okay. I missed those first two movies. What happened?
Well, Larkin digs into Poe's file and tries to get Malloy on board with the idea that they could trust this one particular convict on the plane because he's an ex-Army Ranger. So that automatically makes him a good guy. Why not? True. Malloy has been so agreeable up to this point, so I'm sure he'll see the logic in that. Larkin says he thinks Poe is trying to help them because he's a parolee, didn't get off the plane, but instead stashed the tape recorder on the guard. He says Poe got into a drunken brawl and killed a guy while defending his wife, which could have happened to any one of them. Then whips out a little Dostoevsky on Malloy, who doesn't strike him. Is Das guy Doi? He says Poe got into a drunken brawl and killed a guy while defending his wife, which could have happened to any one of them, and whips out a little Dostoevsky. And whips out a little Dostoevsky. We're just going to go with that. Ladies and gentlemen, we just spent 20 minutes breaking down phonetically how to say that. Malloy, who doesn't strike me as a big reader, probably reads Garfield using audiobooks, which sadly are not available on Libro FM. I checked. But you can't find some Dostoevsky.
Yeah, I think we just made our next ad.
Do you struggle with reading?
Check out some Vince's favorite author, Dostoevsky.
Dostoevsky. I don't know. Just Google that shit.
And it even has the word dose in it.
Read his really famous book, The Brothers Karamazov.
Malloy says they should have just shot down the plane, which honestly isn't the worst idea, seeing as how 90% of the casualties would have been, crazy lunatics, and it would have saved several Las Vegas attractions from being destroyed. All I'm saying is, if this was post 9/11, they'd all be dead already. That plane would have been shot down over the desert. On cue, the attack helicopters arrive, so Malloy takes off after the plane they think is the bad guys, but is actually filled with old people enjoying the sights. Back with the convicts, Cyrus tells everyone they'll be in Mexico in a few short hours, but first they need to swap airplanes. Swamp Thing tells Cyrus the plane is dragging since the rear gear didn't close all the way, so he sends Diamond Dog to take care of it, and Diamond Dog says, Poe, that's great leadership right there, folks. Delegation.
Delegation, yeah.
Yeah.
He finds Pinball stuck in the landing gear, so while Diamond Dog is distracted, Poe writes a note on Pinball's shirt to Larkin saying they're headed to Lanur Airport using a conveniently located Sharpie in Pinball's pocket. That fucking dude had everything. He was prepared. Must have been a Boy Scout.
Yeah. So he figured out that whole condom in the stomach trick, Well,
that's a different... I mean, he definitely learned that in the Boy Scouts. We're gonna get canceled. Meanwhile, Diamond Dog fucks with him by pointing a gun at him for no reason other than to make us think he saw Poe write the note. Just another stupid, pointless scene.
Maybe he's a cinematographer.
Down below, we see a couple talking about bird shit being good luck in a Volvo. Eventually, Pinball's body lands on their car, and the Volvo is hit by like 4 other cars because they needed to use up the budget somewhere. I mean, really, to this point, they're pretty tame.
And people don't get distracted unless there's a car crash every 10 minutes.
True.
Or people don't stay invested unless there's a car crash every 10 minutes in these movies.
You got to have a car chase or a car crash to keep people interested.
Yeah. I think there is a rule of that. Like, there has to be an action beat every so often in these movies, especially these Bruckheimer-like movies.
Oh, yeah.
And they had been, lacking of an action beat for a few minutes here. So
And these Bruckheimer films
Don't
love
want to get
dead
too
bodies
serious
crashing
with things
into
like
shit.
dialogue, you know.
Yeah.
When you could just
True.
have cars crash into it for no reason.
No need for dialogue.
It's cheap. Billy confronts Poe about him saying he had 15 years left to Cyrus in order to justify not leaving when he had the chance earlier. Since they both would have been on the same block of the prison, he wonders why he never saw Poe before. Poe explains it away by saying,
See, there were 160 cats on North Block, and I didn't want to know 159 of them, which included you.
Billy doesn't believe him, so he heads downstairs to look through Poe's box with the smiley face on it. I don't understand how he knew that was his box.
It's one of my couple of questions.
He read the script.
Yeah,
There are two different people who've discovered that same box, and both of them
Exactly.
know that it's Poe's.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Anyways.
guessing it's
I
probably
assume
written
they
on
have
there
their
somewhere.
names on it.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good point. But then why? Anyways,
It's like they got to know whose box is whose. Like the guards have to know when they're
Yeah.
sorting it.
yeah. Anyways, I guess the smiley face was for us just to be able to recognize it.
From
quick.
our
So,
perspective, that's all we ever see of that box is there's a
Yeah,
smiley
yeah.
face on
A
a
smiley face, yeah.
blank box.
Garland explains that Billy is angry because he was raped by an uncle or something. I know that's why I'm always angry. Larkin meets with Trisha and Poe's daughter Cassie, where he tries to find out why Poe would stay on the plane. Cassie's
Did you
his
watch
daughter.
the movie?
Larkin meets with Trisha and Poe's daughter Casey, where he tries to find out why Poe would stay on the plane and becomes more convinced that he's an ally when Trisha tells Larkin Cameron would only have stayed on board if he had a pretty good reason to stay. She also tells him to let Cameron know it'd be kind of nice to have him around since she's tired of being banged by those fisherman guys at the bar.
Got 4 other kids that Poe doesn't know about. Just gonna introduce him to.
This is the
they're
crew of
interrupted by
the
a
crab
phone-
boat.
They're interrupted by a phone call alerting Larkin they found the note on Pinball's dead body in Fresno. Larkin radios Malloy to turn around since they're chasing the wrong transponder, but of course dickhead Malloy yells at him and makes stupid faces before hanging up. Larkin runs to a hangar and says he needs a plane so he can head to the Lanier airport, but they tell him they have no planes, but he could drive since it's only 50 minutes away. Now this is the part like I'm having trouble with the geography here. So they left from Vacaville, California to Carson City, Nevada, flew back up over Fresno, California, and now are 50 minutes outside of where they first took off, but they're headed to Mexico.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so they had to pick up the other prisoners in Carson City, but then they had plans to meet up with Cindino's jet in this Lerner airfield spot. So they had to fly back up, and then they were going to take off from there down to Mexico or somewhere, some non-extradition country in South America or Central America.
Larkin steals Malloy's Corvette and drives to the airfield and alerts nearby authorities to send everyone they got, but he somehow beats all of them there by like 20 to 30 minutes. Now, I'd also like to point out that Vacaville is in Northern California, which looks nothing like the landscape they show as he drives to Lerner, and there's no place that looks remotely like that within a couple hours drive. Northern California, Southern California, 2 different fucking looks.
I mean, what are the odds that somebody watching this movie lives in California?
I would say like the closest place that looks sort of like this is like on the other side of the Sierras. Like when you first get over to like Mono Lake or somewhere in there, like once you entered the Nevada side.
Yeah, but let me tell you, that's more than 50 minutes.
That's like 3 hours
of a drive. Yeah, that's more than 50 minutes.
But he had a Corvette.
That's true.
Touche.
Those guys said it was a 50-minute drive, so you know.
They did say it was 50 minutes.
It's 49 minutes from anything resembling authority, though.
In a plane. Wait, what?
It's continuity.
How's the car almost as fast as a plane?
Okay, so Vacaville is so close to like several major cities, but this Lerner airfield is 50 minutes from anywhere resembling authority, but it's 50 minutes away from Vacaville, California.
Like I said, I don't know.
This makes no sense whatsoever.
I didn't think anybody was going to analyze it that hard.
We'll break our brains if we keep trying to fucking figure this out. So back on the jailbird, Poe discovers Billy in the cargo hold reading his parolee letter and has for some reason taken the bunny Poe got for his daughter out of the package. Don't know why. Just
because
So you can have
wanted to
conflict.
play with it.
conflict and anyways. Poe tells him to,
Put the bunny back in the box.
to which Billy says Poe has been playing them all along since he's a free man. Poe then says,
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
prompting Billy to chuck it on the ground and rush Poe. Their stunt doubles fight for a bit before Billy breaks a nozzle of some sort that I guess has no integral part to the operation of the plane, since it just seems to not cause any issues despite spewing fluid all over the fucking place. Eventually, Poe kicks Billy backwards, impaling him onto the pipe. And as he lay there dying, Poe again asks,
Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
Glad I did all that setup with Billy.
Yeah.
no shit, just to get fucking
Just kill him
bitch
in
kicked
5
into
seconds.
a tiny ass hose.
What was that hose? Was that like the air conditioning or something?
I don't know.
Hydraulic pipe.
I don't know much about planes despite coming from a family that spent a lot of time working for the Boeing company. But the one thing I do know is if a plane is leaking fluid, it's probably not going to be good at all.
Yeah.
I'll have to text my dad and ask him. I'll send him that scene and ask him to give us a professional breakdown.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
He's like, yeah, they're all dead. That's the hydraulic lift.
Just, if you have anything, any kind of hose on a plane is going to be integral to the operation
Yes.
of the plane.
Yes. Spewing liquid like that, you're talking hydraulics most likely, which flaps,
Yeah.
Landing gear.
landing gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Anyways.
Movie logic.
Movie logic. We cut to Malloy and the attack helicopters catching up to the tourist plane, which, as we said, is somewhere over Monument Valley, Arizona. Yet they managed to make their way to the airfield, which is 50-minute drive outside of Vacaville, California, all within a few scenes. Now, I ain't no cartographer. Yeah, fuck it. We've already gone over this long enough. Never mind. It's just use your imagination. Just become a
Suspension
flat
of
earther and it
disbelief.
makes sense. Back on the plane, Poe takes his seat, and apparently only Garland, the serial killer, noticed that Billy didn't come back up from the cargo hold. Garland tries to have a nice chat about killing being super duper fun, and that it's insane to work 105 hours a week in a motel office. I mean, that it's insane to work 50 hours a week in an office for 50 years. Poe eventually snaps and tells him not to talk to him anymore. He's like, fuck Poe, he's just trying to be nice. He's just trying to make conversation.
He's a pretty good guy.
I gotta be such a dick. Anyway, Garland goes on to say he wore one girl's head as a hat as he drove through 3 states, which sounds pretty sane to me. Just pretty normal shit right there.
I want to see that movie.
I do too. Just want to see Buscemi murdering children, wearing their body parts as he
His
drives
hands
to
Coen
his
Brothers
next
movie.
murder.
stopping in for gas. Still got the head on his head.
He's got the head on his head. Yeah. Larkin arrives at the airfield, which is a nice rubble heap in the desert, and the price of gas is only $1.03 a gallon. Now, if there's a place where gas costs $1 within an hour drive of the San Francisco Bay, there'd be cars lined up for miles, even back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because San Francisco has remained to be one of the most expensive cities to live in, which is why I don't understand, why Patrick still subjects himself to living there when he could live somewhere like Mobile, Alabama.
I just couldn't stand that accent. I had to listen to that all day. I'd just kill myself.
Larkin hides the car and makes his way to the control tower, where he finds a dead body and a broken radio. The jailbird pulls a Maverick and buzzes the tower before almost hitting a small plane trying to land at the same time as them. They nearly crash into each other on the runway, and rather than turn, the pilot in the small plane just jumps out of it for some reason. The jailbird overshoots the runway to avoid the little plane, and they crash into a barrier, then into the building Larkin ran to, which causes him to fall from the skylight to the ground, but he's totally fine. Don't worry, he's good. Eventually, the plane is stopped by Swamp Thing raising the front wheel back into the plane, causing it to skid to a stop in some sand just before hitting a propane tank. Had Michael Bay been directing this film, that whole fucking plane would have gone up in flames.
I think if you would have done this, it would have caused some major damage to the plane.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you crash land a plane, I don't think you could take off with it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let alone get the front landing gear back out to taxi to the runway.
Probably would have completely crushed the front end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in
like planes aren't really designed to like run into things.
No.
Aluminum is pretty collapsible and lightweight.
Yeah.
This is a heavy duty prisoner transport plane though. So
it's designed for combat and battering ram.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think like that impact would flex the cockpit so that it would bend and be completely attached to the rest of the body because that's where they bolt together. Anyways, like I said, I'm no aerospace expert.
Yeah, ask your dad that one too.
I'll ask him that. Yeah, I'll send him that clip too.
Hey, if a plane crash lands with no front landing gear and then slides into a sand dune, can you take off again with it?
Yeah, through a building to a sand dune. Can it take off again? They hop off the plane and Cyrus asks Sandino, where's the other plane? And Sandino says he doesn't know, but to have patience since it'll be there. You know you can trust a Mexican, so no need to worry.
The only one of us who can make that
film
joke.
has taught you anything.
Touche. The pilot from the small plane runs up to them screaming, but quickly realizes his mistake when he sees the hostage guards being drug out of the plane. So he runs into the barren desert. I'm starting to think this guy cheated on his pilot license test. Doesn't really seem that bright. You know, maybe he went to the same flight school that guy from Lord of War who finished 42nd out of 43 he went to.
Yeah, he was 43.
He was never.
He was the 43rd. Touche. Poe tries to get Baby-O off the plane so he can get him some insulin, but guard Bishop warns him moving Baby-O could kill him. So Poe says he's not leaving without him or Bishop and again tries to lift him. Baby-O tells him,
Damn it, Poe! Man, it's time to fight. Fuck, hit the fence. I suggest you hit the fence.
Next we see Poe fucking a fence, so he must have been a little confused. I know I was by that statement.
Hey, what you do in prison, you know? You don't have a lot of things to do when you're in there, so you
can either fight, fuck, or hit the fence. Those really are the only three things you can do in prison.
Yeah.
Fight, fuck, or hit the fence.
What else are you going to do in that cell for 7 years?
Rather than leave Baby-O and Bishop behind, like they suggest, Poe strips down to his wife beater and heads out to see if he can find a syringe for the small vial of insulin they have from earlier. Wait. I don't know if I can say this because I'm not white, but is wife beater still acceptable to say? Because I got to be honest, like tank top just seems a little inaccurate for that piece of clothing. I mean, I'm not saying anything, you know.
I've been wondering that for years. Like, is it okay to say wife beater? Is it ever been okay to say wife beater?
I mean, they still wear them, so.
Wife beaters still wear them.
Yeah, wife beaters
still wear them.
So you can keep calling them that.
Act 3. Time to resolve some shit.
Outside, Poe sees Diamond Dog about to kill the guards, so he intervenes by telling Double D that they're hostages and they'll need them as leverage. When Diamond asks why Poe gives a damn about the guards, Poe kicks the hostages and pretends he wants them dead as well, which convinces Cyrus, who is eavesdropping on the conversation, that they should keep the guards in case Sandino reneges on the deal that they have, becoming pretty obvious that that deal has fallen through already. I think I asked it at some point, but like, how long are they at this freaking airfield? 'Cause it seems like they're there for a really long time.
Yeah.
So like they're waiting on that jet to show up this entire time.
They also say like when they see the cops coming, they're like, oh, they're about 10 minutes away.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, he's
45 minutes
25
later.
minutes or something. Where they show up.
The only thing that really matters about this exchange is that when Diamond Dog realizes Cyrus is on Poe's side, Cage gives Mr. Dog his iconic wink.
And tractor. So get back there and dig the plane out.
Object of all of my fantasies. That wink. Also, John Malkovich reads from a thesaurus for a second about his proclivities towards lamenting guards and penal lore or some shit.
It's not difficult to surmise how Nathan here feels about killing guards, and my own proclivities are well-known and often lamented facts of penal lore.
That was just John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just, off the top of my head, proclivities toward lamenting guards and penal lore. And it's just like, it's so like odd and out of place. Like it's not, he hasn't talked like that once through this whole movie. And then suddenly, okay.
Well, like he said, they were rewriting it like every day.
Yeah,
so maybe
true.
the character got changed around.
I mean, he's a genius. Of course he would talk like that. He decides it's time to switch to plan B, which is to refuel the jailbird so they can fly it to Mexico instead of relying on Sandino, which makes no sense because aren't they meeting up with Sandino's people in Mexico? So like, I guess they can fly it to somewhere in Mexico.
Yeah, and then just hope for the best.
Yeah.
Also, like, once Mexico scans you on radar, they're probably not going to want some unauthorized plane flying into their country. And let me tell you, they're not as understanding with their fighter plane.
Mexico's just a lawless wasteland. Okay, there is no law. There's nothing.
No, they'll shoot your ass out of the sky, dude.
I swear that's how everybody thinks about Mexico when they're writing these scripts. It's just like there is nobody's paying attention to anything down there. It's just chaos.
I mean, it is chaos, but they'll shoot your shit out of the
point.
sky. It is lawless. The cartels will probably shoot you down first.
Yeah. Hey, you running drugs? That's my job.
That's my job. Yeah. That's my job. Get out of here. Chindino.
Get out of here, Yale
They're
bird.
the ones. Yeah, they're the ones with all the military equipment. So
yeah, that's true.
Sad but true.
The Yale bird. Next, we see Garland make his way to a trailer park where a filthy little girl is playing Tea Party with some dolls in a drained, dirty pool. Wait, I thought we hadn't gotten to Alabama yet. The inmates dig out the plane, and Poe volunteers to go grab the refueling truck. So Cyrus calls him a most useful mammal. Sandino sees
again.
Yeah. Sandino sees him head into a tent and is concerned since he knows his crew is already there waiting for him. Wait, if he knows that they're there, why doesn't he just leave? Is he waiting for the cops to show up? Why is he helping to unbury the jailbird if he knows that he could just leave at any point? Is he waiting for them to come attack the prisoners?
I thought he might be waiting for them to get fed up and leave, like their plan to take off. I don't think he ever thought they were going to crash the plane like they did. So I always assumed that he thought that they would just take off and he would just wouldn't get back on the plane.
So like
let them leave.
The prisoners would just walk through the desert like that pilot guy?
That the prisoners would get back on the plane and then fly off, and he would stay behind.
Okay.
That's what I always thought. But then rewatching it, I just realized that they had no fucking way to really explain why he was helping them dig the plane out.
I don't know. He just bails eventually anyway. Anyways, Poe's grabbed as soon as he gets inside the tent by Sandino's men, but we cut away to outside where Johnny 23 alerts the inmates that the fuzz are on their way, thanks to a dust cloud on the horizon, which I guess is 2 or 3 hours away based on how long it seems for them to get there. Yeah, we'll have like 10 minutes. Or whatever.
They say 10 minutes specifically.
Yeah.
It's take them 10 minutes to get here.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as I
enough
explain
time
the
to
next
dig a
40
plane out,
paragraphs
air
worth of
refuel it.
stuff here. Yeah.
Yeah, wish they never refuel that fucking thing either, by the way.
Back with Garland and the dirty girl. Wait, that came out wrong. Back with the child murderer and a child. We get a fun exchange where she asks him if he wants to play and giggles while he smirks at her like, like a homicidal maniac.
I thought that's just him smiling.
That's just
normally.
Steve Buscemi.
That's just Buscemi smiling.
Back in the tent, we see Sandino's men and a Lear jet. Poe tells one of the men he doesn't care if they take Sandino and leave the rest of them to rot, but if he kills Poe, the other 20 inmates will hear the shot and come running. So the guy puts a silencer on the gun, and Poe says,
Hooray for the sounds of fucking silence.
I thought that was actually a pretty funny line.
Larkin pops out of the shadows and tells the guys to freeze, which allows Poe to get the jump on the dude with the silencer. He takes out all of the guys, no sweat, and points the gun at Larkin, who says he got the message that he scrawled on Dave Chappelle's dead body. Poe asks where the troops are since they've been out in the desert for what feels like hours already. Larkin asks if he can lower his gun, and Poe says,
Sorry, boss, but there's only 2 men I trust. One of them's me, the other's not you.
I'm guessing the other guy is Bubba O. Is that the other guy you trust?
I thought Jesus, but yeah.
I thought God.
Really?
But yeah, it's probably Baby O.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Poe says he needs to get back to the plane, and Larkin asks why. Poe says he can't trade another man's life for his own, so Larkin knows he was right about him all along. When Poe goes to leave, Larkin says he spoke to Poe's wife and kid, and he tells Larkin to tell his wife, I love her. She's my hummingbird, but I couldn't leave a fallen man behind. I've just felt like running. Larkin says he'll tell her, but wants to know what Poe's going to do for him. And he says,
What do you think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna save the fucking day.
and as he walks away, we see the pilot pop up from inside the plane. So the other 3 guys are just completely incapacitated now. Like he shot one in the leg, he kicked one in the chest, and he like punched one. So they're all just knocked out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they
okay.
don't count as they don't count as kills. He only kills 4 people in this movie. Spoiler alert! But he incapacitated those 3 guys.
I mean,
to be fair, the dude that got shot in the leg probably bled out because nobody attended to him medically. But we don't count that.
Yeah, they just disappeared like they were never there. he punched one in the face, he kicked one, and he shot one in the leg, and therefore all 3 of them are off the board completely from here on out.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless Cusack finished them off.
I maybe assumed that Larkin like tied them up and put them in some different part of the hangar, whatever hangar tent that thing was supposed to be, so that nobody would see them. I don't know.
He could have. Who knows?
Anyways, the prisoners pull the plane out of the sand while D-Dog whips them with a whip for some reason. Like, why is he whipping them? Was that some sort of like? I'm not gonna.
Yeah, don't go there. Please don't go there.
Nope.
Anyways, while this is going on, the cops slowly, very slowly inch their way to the airfield. And so does Malloy in the helicopters. We cut back to Garland and the little girl where she asks him if he's sick. He says there's no cure for what he has, and rather than chop her head off to wear as a hat, he sings, he's got the whole world in his hands with her. And that apparently just cured his mental illness completely because he's just fine from here on out.
Rehabilitated.
Yeah, completely. Sandino suddenly bails from helping pull the plane and runs to the tent/hangar thing. Hops on board the jet, which nobody followed him into the, I don't know. He just kind of runs off and they're like, okay, well, whatever. Yeah. Larkin re-enters the tent just in time. So Larkin re-enters right after that. So I'm guessing he took those other dudes. Maybe that was a cut scene or something. I don't know. It's the only thing that makes sense. I just feel like There has to be an explanation to where those 3 dudes went.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. Like from this point on, I barely remember the movie.
It left no impression upon you.
Yeah, I really, like, honestly. Like,
Well, once again, I think we care more about plot points than the writer did.
yeah.
Anyways, Larkin re-enters the tent just in time to be blown backwards by an engine firing up and is thrown backwards into a wooden box or something. Next, we see that he's in a coma, and John Travolta has decided to cut his face off and wear it as his own. Oh, wait, no, that was something else.
Then he has to go to his high school reunion.
That'd be awesome. Oh, my God, I'm an assassin. Oh, my God, I'm in love with Minnie Driver.
Oh, my God. That's Minnie Driver.
She's a woman.
How do you like them apples?
How do you like them apples? Oh, jeez. Cyrus and the prisoners spot the jet taking off, and Larkin jumps into a nearby crane that I guess just happened to have the keys in it. He clips the tail of the jet, which sends it into some gas pumps, and when the inmates catch up to the plane, Cyrus takes a cigarette out of Swamp Thing's mouth and tosses it into the gushing gas, causing it to explode after Sandino says, "Sigh," and Cyrus says, "Anara." Meanwhile, Poe is inside the gas station and runs from the flames while the explosion happens behind him because, of course, he does. This is a 90s action movie, after all. After jumping through the window and rolling under a truck to avoid the explosion, he finds an old guy hiding who tells him that there's a first aid kit in a fire truck nearby. He tells the old man not to panic, and the guy says,
"It's easy for you to say. You don't gotta take a piss."
Funny.
A lot of good rewrites on this. Little jokes they got to pepper in there. I think that was a 90s action thing that wasn't really around so much before Bruckheimer. I think they threw little jokes into the action.
The cheesy jokes, yeah.
That was like the Bruckheimer recipe. Like action has to happen so many beats. There has to be a joke every so many beats.
Yeah.
Has to be a slow-mo scene every so many beats.
Has to be dead bodies falling on cars.
Yeah. The inmates pull the huge stockpile of guns from the plane's cargo hold, and Cyrus spots Billy's dead body. So the cargo hold that had the prisoner's stuff in it was like easily accessible from inside the plane, but the guns, you had to be outside of the plane and open up a door from the outside to get to them. Is that right?
Which doesn't make sense because wasn't the whole point to have them accessible to the guards if they ever needed them?
Well, I think they want to make sure that the plane itself was supposed to be like a prison. So like no guns.
So then why the fuck have the guns on there in the first place? Like to the rifles on there.
So this scene can happen.
In case there's a plane prison break?
Why in the fuck do they have grenade launchers?
Touche.
Yeah, in case the prisoners get out of hand, you gotta shoot grenades at them.
Shoot their eyes out with those things.
So anyways, he knows that I think that's the first sign that he knows that Poe is, playing them.
Mm-hmm.
Cyrus lays out a plan on the ground in hour 4 of the cops slowly making their way to the airfield.
10 minutes away.
He tells them
10
all.
mics out.
He tells them all of the cops are going to inexplicably all drive into the boneyard in a straight line. So they'll be able to take out the first car and the last car to create an airtight cage filled with lots and lots of dead people.
He understands how a convoy works, rubber ducky.
Why? All right, we'll get there.
There's only one way in, one way out.
How would he know their route?
It's like how the Russians invaded Ukraine.
Why would they all go down the same path? Why wouldn't the cops surround?
I don't know. Ask the Russians.
God damn it. We're going to get DDoXed by the fucking Russians.
Poe finally finds a syringe while Larkin calls one of the officers on an obviously melted phone. But it's too late, and the prisoners kill like 50 idiot cops who all decided to drive into the most obvious trap imagiable. Poe
Are they
said,
cops or military?
I don't know.
That's like the one thing that confuses me. I've never seen SWAT guys in fucking camo like that.
Yeah, camo. They're in the desert dressed in camo.
Yeah,
the first
in
sign that they weren't
camo.
that smart.
They blend right in.
Wearing green in the desert. Poe says,
Well, baby-o, it's not exactly my ties and Yahtzee out here. Let's do it.
whatever the hell that means.
Then they had sex.
Inside joke. Yeah, that's what they say to each other before they.
Come
Go
on,
lights
it's
out on
Yahtzee
that
time.
punk.
Pull out the pink snowballs.
Wait, why is he giving a diabetic pink snowballs? That's the worst thing you could do. I didn't think about that up until right now.
They forgot that.
Jesus, he's killing his best friend.
Cake wrapped in marshmallow. It's the best thing to give a diabetic.
He runs through the massacre and jumps into a burning cop car to get back to the plane, where he ties the plane to a concrete pylon and gets on board just in time to stop Johnny 23 from raping the guard. Dude's got a one-track mind, I'm telling you.
Who, Cage or Johnny 23?
Both.
Yeah.
He bashes Johnny's head against a cage while saying,
Don't freak women like that.
Larkin drives a big truck with a plow on the front of it through the melee, saving at least a few of the moron cops from the prisoners.
Why is there a plow and they're in the desert?
Got to plow that sand every once in a while.
Yeah, you got to plow that sand, dude. Just ask the sand people.
The inmates retreat to the plane just as the attack helicopters show up 10 hours later. All of the surviving prisoners, as well as Garland for some reason, jump back on board as Poe gives Baby-O his shot. You know what I mean? Giving him the shot.
The flesh shot.
Giving him the Yahtzee.
Penicillin.
He tells Bubba and Bishop to get ready to move, but before they can deboard, the plane takes off. When you know it, stuck with these guys again. Cyrus notices they're tied up, so he and another guy shoot the concrete pylon until it crumbles. The rope ends up swishing around until it coincidentally grabs hold of Malloy's Corvette, and they take off with it dragging behind them.
Video game physics.
Yeah.
Then the car slams into the control tower and crashes to the ground right in front of Malloy and Larkin. Malloy freaks out, but they all jump into the helicopters and take chase after the jailbird. And as they fly over the trailer park, we see that Garland didn't rape and murder that little girl. See, he's not such a bad guy. He's a good guy. Because we see like a broken teacup. I don't know. Resigning himself to being incarcerated, maybe. Like that's like I need help. But then he just escapes anyway. He's into the group thing.
He's finally part of a group.
Yeah, he's got some friends now.
He's got friends.
That's all he needed, you know.
He's got friends in.
He's the real hero. He can't leave man behind.
He just saw it as an opportunity to murder some more people. Kill all those people on the plane.
He'll only murder.
Oh man, if I get to Mexico, think of how many people there's just like no authorities there whatsoever.
Oh god.
It's just a lawless wasteland down there. Back in the cargo hold, Diamond Dog goes through Poe's stuff for some reason, and after finding the letter from Poe's daughter, he gives it to Cyrus, who cuts off Sweet Home Alabama, which is playing on the plane, and lays out all of the things a traitor did to alert the authorities and stop the plane from taking off. Why are they playing Sweet Home Alabama if they're not going to Alabama?
Because he's from Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah, he's heading home.
He's headed home.
But
they should have played Freebird.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense.
A much better
would have made a lot more sense. Maybe they just had a tape and that was the... Maybe it was in Poe's box.
Luggage, yes. We don't know. Yeah.
That's
all right,
a good point.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, see, and they got cut. I could see that actually being a thing in there.
Yeah, that's possible.
Don't they make, isn't it Garland that makes a joke about, or who is it that makes a joke about playing Freebird?
Plane full of idiots.
Why are you playing Skinner?
Skinner, most of Skinner died in a plane crash.
The good
But
parts.
then they just kept performing for 30 years after that, too.
The bad
I think
part.
they're still performing. He tries to flush Poe out by threatening to kill guard Bishop, but Baby-O says he did it. Baby-O says, pretty clever, right? So Cyrus shoots him in the stomach and says, no.
Jesus! No, that's clever.
Which wasn't clever at all, really.
She's not very smart.
He's a genius.
He's a genius. Killed more people than cancer. Cyrus reads the letter from Poe's daughter, then pulls out the bunny he bought her and says,
Make a move and the bunny gets it.
It's my favorite lyric from Run the Jewels.
Larkin and Malloy arrive on the scene, prompting Cyrus to just start blasting his pistol at the heavily armored attack helicopters, which is even less clever than saying you're clever for shooting a guy in the stomach. Malloy tells his pilot to fire on the plane, which makes Larkin freak out, since I guess it's better to let these guys fly a plane into a heavily populated city rather than take it out over the desert, since there might be a couple of good guys still on board. How does he know that Poe and Bishop and all of them got back onto the plane?
He doesn't.
He doesn't.
At all.
But
There's no
they
way
might
for
be.
him to fucking
But
know.
they might be.
They might be, though.
It's just really, I don't know. It's a dumb reason to not shoot that.
Yeah.
They would have shot that plane down for sure.
Yeah. They're not even going to listen
yeah.
to him. He's just some random, what is he, a U.S. Marshal or something?
He's
Like,
a marshal,
not-
yeah.
Like he's like commands everybody.
Bubba says, I want to go home. To a guy who sounds exactly like Forrest Gump, who also happened to be from Alabama. But in this case, Baby-O doesn't die right there by that river in Vietnam.
But he still makes a promise that they'll start that shrimping company.
Yeah. I want to go home. Instead, he says, I keep thinking God doesn't exist. And Poe says, I'm going to show you God does exist.
And then they make love.
And then he Yahtzees his way into his
How
pink
can
snowballs.
I live without you?
Anyways, he
Everybody looks on in
shows,
horror as he starts having sex with the mortally wounded guy on the floor of the plane.
Oh, that's why he wanted to stay on. Okay.
that's why he trusts him so much, huh? He gets home to his wife. I got something I gotta tell you.
Please tell me it's not just gay for the stay, Baby-O.
Fuck.
Anyways, he shows Baby-O that God exists by kicking all of the inmates' asses, getting shot at point blank range, but only getting a flesh wound in the arm, and making his way to the cockpit where he tells Swamp Thing to land the plane, who's pretty agreeable once he gets into there. Like, I don't know. Does he even
He's
have a
just a
gun
pilot,
at
man.
that point?
Who, Swamp Thing?
No.
Or Cage?
Poe. I think he just busts into the cockpit. It's just like,
suppressed
land the
pistol
plane.
just disappears. It never. Once he leaves the tent hanger, he never has a weapon again.
Yeah, the gun with the silencer, right? It's
Yeah,
gone.
he's just like gone.
Why would he need that, you know?
Yeah, how would that come in handy?
It ended up on the cutting room floor.
Chekhov's gun that never reappears.
Dostoevsky's gun.
Dostoevsky's gun.
Dostoevsky's gun.
You can say Chekhov.
Yeah, that's easy.
That's Russian.
That's a Star Wars reference. Chekhov.
He calls Larkin on the radio and tells them not to shoot down the jailbird, so eventually Malloy relents after Larkin tells his pilot to just get in front of their missiles and stuff. Whatever. These pilots just obey whatever orders the guy in the cockpit with them says.
They're military.
Yeah.
They only follow orders.
And he allows the plane to destroy half of Las Vegas instead. Guard Bishop knocks out Cyrus, and Swamp Thing says the only option they have is to land the plane on the Las Vegas Strip since they only have one engine, which makes sense because it's not like the airport is literally right next to the Strip or anything.
Yeah. In fact, they were like headed right for it, and then he veers to the Strip. If he would have just went like this, he would have landed at the airport.
Yeah.
Or the tourist part of the airport where all the helicopter tours go out of.
You got to land in the cool part of Las Vegas so that it can be in the movie.
And then like he like loops around and lands in Fremont somehow.
Yeah. Somehow
Like,
lands in the Fremont
You literally
experience.
flew over Fremont, so you had to turn around to come back to Fremont?
Yep.
You could have got to the airport.
Like, what are the odds that somebody watching this movie lives in Vegas?
Or has ever been to Vegas.
Has ever been to Vegas.
Or looked at a map.
The inmates all strap in while Garland starts singing, "He's got the whole world in his hands." I like that the other inmates like, "Shut the fuck up, you freak."
How come nobody tried to kill him?
Yeah, aren't child murderers looked down upon in prison? Not
You would
treated
think,
very kindly.
Pederast, yeah.
But he thought it was inhumane to keep him locked up like that.
Yeah, but he hates rapists.
Yeah.
Adult rapist.
Yeah, it's fine if you rape and kill kids.
They're not people.
Yeah, and Baby O's got diabetes. But he's eating snowballs. God damn it. Larkin radios for the LVPD to show up, and suddenly we see Elijah Wood getting interrupted by a phone call while banging a prostitute. Oh, wait, that was something else, too. The plane crashes into the Hard Rock Cafe neon light guitar, then lands onto the Strip, and eventually skids to a stop in the lobby of the Sands Hotel. Okay. Lots of things wrong with that, but
Yeah. It like corkscrewed.
So, all right, that guitar is nowhere near the Strip. Okay,
No,
then
it's Hard Rock's off the Strip.
yeah. Then they land on the Strip and skid to a stop at the Sands, which I believe was on the Strip. But then they're at the Fremont Street Experience, which is downtown, which is nowhere near the Strip.
I think Sands was on the Strip.
Yeah,
Closer
I believe
to
because
Fremont,
it was Dean Martin and the Rat Pack all played there on the Strip, and that was part of what actually made the Strip
exactly.
popular.
Yeah, it's old. It's like an old Strip. I think that was like the end of the old Strip was Sands.
Yeah.
Before they started building everything down by the airport. So if that's how they flew in, then what they're telling us, they literally flew over the fucking airport to crash land in Fremont.
He also they fly right over the stratosphere, which is closer to the Fremont Street Experience than where they actually landed.
Right, but they had so then like I said, they had to turn around to crash through Hard Rock, which is off the Strip.
Yes,
to then crash in front of the Sands, to then somehow magically be down the Strip at Fremont.
Yeah, which is not the Strip is not connected to the Fremont Experience.
No, it's not.
Or downtown
the Strip,
at all.
Yeah, the Strip technically now ends like people. What did my buddy say? Most people consider it ends at. God, what are those new?
I would say the
buildings
stratosphere is where it ends.
Yeah, that's like the.
That's the downtown
Strip,
end.
but like most people consider like the Aria and that shit being like the end of the Strip. Because you're not going, because the stratosphere is down there.
Yeah,
it's a ways down
like
off of like what's now the main Strip.
Yeah, we're getting way too deep into
geography.
My eyes are glazing over because I've never been to Vegas. So,
anyways,
magical.
Quick fact: the Las Vegas scenes were filmed at the legendary Sands Hotel immediately prior to its demolition in late 1996. So they actually did crash the plane into the lobby of the old Sands Hotel.
That's cool.
Which is kind of cool, yeah. When the production team heard about the city's intention to raise the historic landmark, they immediately scheduled a multiple camera setup to take advantage of the rare event, which is what you see in the film. It's kind of cool. They actually did partially help destroy the Sands before it was destroyed.
That's awesome.
Oh, and during the crash, Cyrus threatens Cameron's daughter's life, so I guess that justifies what comes next. The helicopters land, and for some goddamn reason, so does a chopper with Poe's wife and daughter. Poe gets Baby O. Poe gets Baby O and Bishop off the plane to safety, while Cyrus, Swamp Thing, and Diamond Dog sneak away. Sounds like another HBO Max show. Cyrus, Swamp Thing, and the Diamond Dog. Guess that would be CW.
It was just HBO.
Larkin and Poe spot Cyrus on top of a fire truck driving away, and both decide to take off after him on police bikes rather than, like, alert the other cops who might have been, you know, a little bit of a help. Or the attack helicopter pilots who might have been able to help. Or the FBI or DEA who might have been able to help. Or anyone else, really. They just jump on the bikes and take off. Don't tell anybody. Anyway, they speed off after the fire truck on the bikes that conveniently had the keys in them, I guess. This seems to be a running theme throughout this movie. We do see him, like, hotwire. I think he hotwires the Corvette, and then he hotwires that dump truck or whatever with the plow on the front of it. But then everything else, he just jumps in and drives. Swamp Thing runs the fire truck into every single car on the strip for some reason and gives us a nice tour of some famous Las Vegas attractions like the Fremont Street Experience, which is not even close to where they landed, and through a Las Vegas tunnel that doesn't exist. Cyrus sprays some motorcycle cops who join the pursuit with a fire hose. Don't fire trucks need to be hooked up to a water source to spray water?
No, they do have like a small reserve.
I don't think they have enough water.
I mean, not to blast that like that, but they do have
spray as much water as they do here. Yeah, I mean, isn't the whole point of them always being connected to fire hydrants? Like,
yeah,
they don't have enough water in the truck.
But I think they're supposed to have a small amount. Like,
I'm guessing it's not even close to how much water they pump out.
Oh God, no. But then again, in GTA, when I spray people in the face with the fire truck, I'm not hooked up to fire hydrant, so and that game is accurate.
Yeah, I did the research on that game. Poe climbs onto the truck by monkey barring his way along the truck's ladder, and somehow, by getting off of his bike, it caused it to accelerate and be filled with dynamite or something, because it collides with the back of the truck, which kills Diamond Dog, who I guess didn't get the memo that there are seats in the cab of the truck that he could have sit in.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite kill of all these films. Is him launching a cop motorcycle at Diamond Dog and it exploding.
And then does he look at the camera and say, roadkill?
Cyrus tries to shake Poe from the truck by stabbing at him with a hook of some sort, but Poe manages to grab it, break it in half, and stab Cyrus in the leg while still holding onto the ladder with an arm that he was shot in earlier.
That's a real man right there.
Also, the angle he stabs him at, it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, like, he would have to have climbed up and then stabbed in. Like, it's like stabbed straight through the side of his leg. Anyways, best not to think of these things. Cyrus pulls the stick out of his leg, which went all the way through one side and out the other, but stands up like nothing even happened. There's no ligaments or anything in there.
Yeah.
Larkin jumps on the truck and uses an axe to cut through the roof of the cab while he tells Swamp Thing to pull over. Sure, here you go. He slams into a bunch of shit. I don't think that, that's how cars work. Like, if you slam into some shit, I don't think that they would just keep going forever
GTA
like
physics.
That. Yeah. Poe knocks Cyrus down and says,
You ain't getting near my daughter. Buckle up.
As he handcuffs him to the ladder. Larkin puts a hose through the hole in the cab and turns on the water while Poe raises the ladder with Cyrus on it, causing him to be slammed into an above-street alley or walkway, which is a pretty sadistic way to kill a guy from a reformed convict who never actually meant to hurt anybody.
But he didn't kill him, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Cyrus flies through the other side of the walkway onto some power lines that I guess were directly behind the walkway. Then he falls into a construction zone, which I guess was under the walkway. And eventually he is somehow on a conveyor belt. and has his head smashed by a rock crusher.
He was magically not handcuffed to the
his
the
arm
ladder
didn't rip
anymore,
off
and he
or
didn't
anything.
lose either of his hands.
Yeah. He jimmied that lock with
the nail in his
toothpick
other
or
hand.
something.
Get the nail in the head, yeah.
Some real fucking Looney Tunes shit going on in the scene.
Even more than Raising Arizona, which had like actual Looney Tunes shit.
Yeah, actual shit.
While all this is going on, Larkin and Poe jumped off the fire truck before it crashed into a conveniently stalled armored car in the middle of the road, which caused tons of money to fly into the air and a crowd of Vegas gamblers to gather and steal it. Also, the truck crashing must have opened up a portal because they're somehow back at the Fremont Street Experience and nowhere near where the armored car was parked. Why isn't the money on fire or anything like that? Like, the truck blew up. 2 huge vehicles blew up. The money is all fine.
Everybody knows money's not flammable.
Poe miraculously finds the bunny he got for his daughter floating in a storm drain, and then slow-mo walks his way to Larkin, where he tells him,
So as you know, Marshal Larkin, there's now 3 men I trust.
and shakes his hand. How in the fuck would he find that bunny?
It's the 90s, man. Everything was magical.
Some cops find a doll, and we realize Garland, the serial killer, whose exploits were so horrible even the convicts were scared of him, has gotten away. I guess no one thought to look for that guy in the plane crash.
Sequel bait.
God.
Yeah. 70 years later.
He'll be in Con Air 2.
That'll be Con Air. That'd be amazing. He's been murdering girls for the last 30 plus years.
He's traded one addiction for another, so.
He's gambling now? Is that what you're trying
He's
to say?
gambling,
Okay. He's
Took a bunch
counting
of the armored
cards.
car money and
We see Larkin and Malloy have some fun banter where Larkin apologizes about destroying his car, and Malloy says he was bored of that car anyway. I'm glad they're finally getting along. Could be the beginning of a great friendship between those two. Poe spots his wife and kid nearby, this extremely dangerous crime scene, and makes his way to them. Why were they there? Why?
yeah, with a bunch of
irresponsible is it to
criminals
bring them?
at large still.
His daughter sees her bloody convict dad making his way towards her and is ever so slightly scared. He apologizes for looking like a mess, saying,
I meant to get a haircut.
does the prison not have like a barber shop? He couldn't get his haircut there? Before he got out of prison?
Hair that long in prison, but as far
Yeah.
as I thought you couldn't.
I don't think you can. But, you know, he had to look so
Good
sexy.
behavior.
You know, he never has, well, I guess that's not true. He never really has long hair in any movie after this. So it was almost like it was a Cage choice to make the character have long hair.
Yeah, I mean, he's got kind of long hair in Pig. Not that long.
Yeah, well,
But-
yeah.
It's kind of long. It's like shoulder length, isn't it?
That's a wig,
It's
though.
not as long as it was in this, but
I feel like that was like Cage's actual hair in this, and he showed up on set, and they were like, okay, we'll shoot it in reverse. Make you look like this the whole movie. Because they saw those lovely locks, and they were like, we can't cut those off. It's going to be fat bait for some podcasters years from now. He tries to give Casey the filthy, soiled, but surprisingly not soaking wet bunny, but she hides behind her mom. He just pulled it out of a storm drain. She eventually says, I have a picture of you. And he says, I got a picture of you too. Then she grabs the bunny and gives him a hug, and everyone cries over, how do I live without you? And they all live happily ever after. Quick fact, the song How Do I Live was nominated for both an Oscar as Best Original Song and a Razzie as Worst Original Song. It didn't win either award, unfortunately.
I didn't know that song was from Con Air.
Yes.
Hit me on it. Although it's been replaced with Massive Talent for me now. Anytime I hear that, I just think of the opening scene in Massive Talent.
Yeah. This movie did win an Oscar, I think for like cinematography or editing or something. It did win one Oscar.
Best sound mixing.
Best sound mixing. Okay.
Which, yeah, sure. I guess
sure. All right. I almost forgot. We see Garland in the casino gambling, sipping Mai Tais. Fun way to end the movie with a homicidal maniac on the loose having a great time. But it's cool because he didn't kill that little girl, so I guess he's completely reformed now.
Wasn't that the end of Silence of the Lambs? Hannibal's like hanging out in South America on a beach or something.
Yeah. It's all good. He was the good guy the whole time. The end. That's how our movie ends.